Pterodactyl here. And today's video is going to be on this. Yeah, check this out. A Dynamark. Boy, now we're reaching back. This is the DeLorean of lawn tractors. The Dynamark. Remember them? And we're going to see if we can get this one running. It was in a scrapyard. And my friend Dennis in Ohio sent me a picture of this and asked me if I wanted it, and I said, yeah, I want the DeLorean of lawn tractors. And he even came up from Ohio, paid me a visit, and dropped this off. So let's see if we can get it going. You want to see what engine's in it? If I can get the hood open. Like the wing doors on a DeLorean. There we go. The little stopper cables aren't hooked up. Got a brakes and scrap them, opposed twin. Look at the headlights. It's got like full size like car headlights in it. That's wild. So let's see if it's locked up. No. Motor's not locked up. Feels like it's got compression. Alright, let me get a battery and we'll see if it'll crank over. Okay, I got the battery in and I can hear the solenoid clicking. Alright, so I got my test light. And let's see if we're getting any juice to the solenoid. Here's the solenoid. Alright. Making crazy noises. This is right from the battery. This line here, this cable is coming directly from the battery to the solenoid. That's why we got power there. And then on the other side, when I hit the key, if it lights up, that means the solenoid's working. It's lighting up. Okay. So come around here, Mr. Cameraman. Now here's the cable to the starter. See if we're getting power right to the starter. So you know what that tells me? This starter's junk. So another thing we can do is go right to the starter with the battery. And I got my homemade battery jumper pack that I made from an old jumper pack. So we want to find a good ground, which would be the engine. Want to make sure we got a good solid ground. Somewhere. Let me find a good spot to ground it. That should be good enough. And then we're going to go right to the starter. Wow. Starter's bad. That's another way to check. Alright, so let's tear this thing apart and put a starter on it. See if we can get it to crank over. So I have to pull this cover off. There's a couple ways to do this. Pull the cover off, pull the flywheel, get to the two bolts that hold the starter, or take this cover off, but then I got to get in there and slowly undo the two bolts under the flywheel to get the starter off. I think I'll just do it the way I always do, and that's just pull this cover off, pop the flywheel, put the starter on. Okay, I got all the screws removed, all the bolts that hold this cover on. So we're gonna pull the cover off and check this out. Look at that, woo, fluffy nest, supreme. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Nastiness. The little guy still in there. He's gonna jump out, give us a surprise. Or did he move on? He must have moved out. Probably thought, you know what? Let me move out of this, out of my digs. What a mess. Good thing we pulled that cover off instead of trying to go through here. I have to get the shop back. So this bolt we can reach. It's this other one in the back. So yeah, maybe I'll just do it that way instead of popping the flywheel. It'll be a little quicker. So I got the starter off, and of course Fluffy had defecated all over it for a long time. And this thing is locked up tight. This starter is really locked up. So we need to bolt. So I went out in the junkyard. I got a cabinet full of starters. And this one I marked good, but the gear was bad. So I put a new Bendix kit on there. And it comes with everything, the kit. I could get you the number if you have this style. And that number is 696540. That's the Bendix kit. They do make it aftermarket. That's the one that's got the roll pin. There is a different Bendix kit that uses a hog ring. So now I'll install the starter and we'll crank it over and see if we got spark. We got little Fluffy's little nest out of there. Where's that other bolt? Here it is. So now the long, arduous process of getting this bolt tightened back down. Oh, it's going in. It's going in pretty easy with the octopus fingers. All right, now it's stopped. All right, when we get the wrench, tighten it back down. All right, got the starter installed. Let's see if it'll crank. She's cranking. All right, let's check for spark. Let me get Sparky the spark tester. Come on, Sparky.
Hi, Carol. It's me, Sparky the spark tester. Shove that in my mouth. That wire.
Now let's get a quick look at the coil. So here's the coil. It's got two coil wires coming out of it. Now this one's so old that it's got the added on magnetron. Now back in the day, for you that don't know, we did a couple videos on these. The Held Hauler had one of these coils with the added magnetron. Back when they started going from points condenser to electronic ignition, Brakes and Scrapple made a kit called the magnetron. You could buy a kit and you could add it to the coil. I think we got a video on it where we added a magnetron to a coil. So you could add this to a points coil and convert your points ignition to electronic by adding this magnetron. You might be able to go on Fleabay or Scamazon and find a magnetron kit that you can add to a coil. So that's what this has got. So let's grab the blower shroud because it's got the model, type, and code on here. And let's see if we can see what year this engine's from. Where are they hiding those numbers on here? I'm gonna guess and say, something's telling me 1984. I'm guessing 84. What's your guesses out there, grass rats? Where is that model type and code? Sometimes they put it on, oh, here it is. Here it is, right here. Haha, I was right, 84. There's the code, first two numbers, 84. 1984. What were you doing in 1984? All right, keep it on that. Let's see if we got spark. Woo! We got spark. So we got spark. Feels like we got compression. I put a plug. I took a pipe plug or a plastic plug and I stuck it in where the oil dipstick goes so we don't got oil spraying out everywhere. And it was a little low on oil, but we're only gonna zap it for a second. Let me get some starting fluid and let's see if this thing will lick off. Got some starting fluid right here. Let's see, is this thing in neutral? I hope the trans is good on this thing. There's neutral. Don't want it to take off on us. All right, let's spray a little more in there. Woo! It's gonna run. See how simple that is? I make it look easy, don't I? Starter, a little starting fluid. We checked a few things. Now it's going to run. We're going to have to pop the top of this carburetor off and take a peek inside. Because I know it's not going to, probably all gummed up in there. Fingers crossed it wasn't full of water. So I'll take these screws off and we'll pop the top of the carburetor off. I might have a new one of these hoses. See if we can get the old Dynamark going. So these carburetors on these opposed twins are real simple. You don't even have to take it off the mower. You can rebuild it right on there. That's what I do. It's just a matter of disconnecting the choke cable and taking these 4 screws out. Unless the carburetor is real bad, or it's got to be replaced, or maybe put in an ultrasonic cleaner. But for the most part, I just do them right here on the mower without taking it off. And you just pop this off. And let's take a peek inside. The carnage. Yeah. Looks like we're going to be taking it off. Now I got to find a carburetor to put on this. Well, that carburetor's on hold for now, because now I got to scrounge up a carburetor, a good one. Then I got to rebuild it and put it on. But I noticed another thing is it's got 2 different spark plugs in it. It's got a little short spark plug, J19LM, which is supposed to take, and it's got one of these long, looks like aftermarket, because it says lawnmower on it. Oh, excuse me. It says lawnmower on it. And it's one of them crappy gold tip spark plugs. We did a video on that too. See any of these spark plugs that got that gold tip? Throw it in the garbage. Some people misunderstood, meaning they thought the gold tip was the problem with the plug, but no, that's how you identify the crappy plug, is it's got a gold tip. Changing the tip on it isn't going to make the plug better. It's just a crappy plug. All right, let's see what's in the gas tank. since the fuel line's disconnected and it's got a shutoff valve on it. Oh yeah, water of course. You think that's gas coming out? No, that's water. See how it's reacting? See how it kind of bubbles on the bottom? That's water. That's pure water in there. Because it was outside at scrapyard in Ohio. They get rain in Ohio? So that's all got to be drained out. I'm putting all new fuel lines on. I'll have to get another cap. This is kind of a cool gas cap because of how it's like so big, but the little gauge is missing, the little cork is missing. So I gotta find a cap that's gonna fit that. I'll put a new set of plugs in. I'll get rid of this cheap lawnmower plug, and then we'll get it running from there. Put the cover back on and all that. Then we gotta make sure it drives. It's gotta be able to move too once we get it running. You gotta hope it drives. Have to check the belt and all that. There's no deck, but we don't need a deck for what we're gonna use this for. Put a new air cleaner in it. That air filter's nasty. Throw that away. Okay, I was able to locate a good used carburetor here at the shop, and I took it apart and it was clean as a whistle, so I didn't have to rebuild it or nothing. So I hooked up our auxiliary tank in the meantime so we can run it. And I also upgraded the electrical system. Now we have a voltage regulator. So I got rid of this alternator, which only puts out between 2 and 4 amps. This red wire is for your charging circuit, and this black wire is for the headlight circuit. So if you have a mower, when you rev up the engine and the lights get brighter, and then when you idle it down, the lights get real dim, that's because you have this type of alternator on it. So I upgraded this one to a 10 amp. So added 6 more amps to it. That's why I had to use a voltage regulator, which I had to mount here in the front. And then the plug, this was the plug that plugged in. I had to cut it loose. And I took the red wire and hooked it into the red wire here off the voltage regulator. So that's going to charge the battery. And this is the wire for the headlights. So I'll have to tie this in somewhere so we can get our lights to work. But we'll go over that in a minute when I check to see if the headlights work. So yeah, I upgraded the electrical. Wanted a little more power, a little more amperage. So this is still good. So I'll save that in case I need it. So let's, as that annoying Elkskin says,
Fire it up, fire it up, fire it up, Carol.
shut up! Pull out the choke. Got the clutch brake down. Sound like it's running fast enough. I may have to kick up the speed. So what else did I do? I took the gas tank off and cleaned it. Found a gas cap that fit this old Dynamark. This is off of a push mower. This cap fit perfect. This is a gas cap from a push mower, a Briggs and Scrap 'em push mower. where it's got the carburetor that mounts to the gas tank. This is that cap. Cleaned it out, had a bunch of crap in there. I also, the outlet on the tank, that hole looked a little small, so I found a little bit bigger drill bit and I drilled it out so it get a little better flow. Somebody had just a bunch of single wire connectors on the back of the key switch. They just plugged them in. So I put on a regular 5 connector plug with the terminals, and we're going to give you the part number of this plug that you can get from Oregon. And the connectors you can get from a good auto parts store like a Napa. We go to an Auto Value where I got mine. So here's that 5 connector plug that Oregon sells, in case you want to restore a tractor or something. And there's the part number for the plug. And then from our local auto parts store, which is an Auto Value, I bought these. I think they came in a pack of 10. And here's the part number, because I threw that in there in case I need to. Standard, I guess, was the name of the company. And they came in a box of 10. I think I bought a couple of boxes, 20 or 30 of them. And then they also had that same terminal, but it's a little bigger back here. So you can get 2 wires in there. And this is for double wires. And there's the part number for that. So you may be able to do a Giggle search, find it online, or a good auto parts store. Not them crappy auto parts stores like O'Reilly's and Advance, and some people, they don't know what the heck they're doing. You have to go to a good one like a Napa or a Auto Value. Maybe they can cross that and find that terminal for you. Because I know a lot of you grass rats are like, where did you get those terminals, Taryl? I need those for my tractor. So that's why I'm telling you. I took the gas valve. I'm going to reuse the gas valve. It was a little crusty. Not musty. Crusty one. This was the crusty one. And I took a drill bit, found a drill bit that size, and just kind of rotted it out with it because it was a little rusty. So I'll just use this over. We'll run some new fuel line, put a new fuel filter on it, and I'll strap that back down. And then I made some cables because they had these hood cables on there and they were short. And I wanted them a little longer. And I don't know where these mounted. I don't know if they mounted here. But there was some tapped holes in this shroud. So I made some cables to hold the hood up. And we're going to go over on the other bench and I'm going to show you how I made them cables in case you want to make them for your tractor. That's me. Belching. Excuse me. So I got some cable, which again, you could get a lot of good hardware stores will sell this by the foot. But I get mine from these kits. You may have seen me use these before from Rotary. This is a blade brake cable repair kit. In case you don't know what a blade brake cable is, or a BBC cable. That's that bail you pull down on a push mower. So you can start it. So Rotary sells a kit in case you have one of them cables break. And it comes with these different adapters and a length of cable so you can repair it. Well, a lot of times I just need parts out of here, so I buy these kits. They're fairly inexpensive, but there's the part number 14808. Rotary sells these. So I had some of this cable left over. So what I do is I get this good solder which is 50-50 solder. It's 50% lead, 50% tin. And then to keep this from fraying, I heat it up and I solder the end of it to keep it from fraying. That's what I did first. Then I got some 1/4-inch tubing, which you can get again at a good auto parts store. And I cut me a little sleeve, a little piece. And where's my pliers? My pliers, here they are. And then I found a drill bit that was the same inside diameter as that, because as you cut it with a tubing cutter, it kind of shrinks it a little. So I drill that out. This is all frayed, or not frayed, but it's soldered so it won't fray on me. And you slip this over, and then you bend it around. You can stick the other end in there, like that. Then I take a bolt, whatever size bolt you want to put through here. Then I take them same pliers and I want to tighten this up. Like so. So I make sure I got a good end on there. Then I take my crimping tool. If you don't have a crimping tool, you can smash it. But this is a good crimping tool I bought years ago. It's a Mountain brand. And it comes with all these different jaws for different types of connectors. This is the one I use for the, or is it this one? This is the one. This is the one I use to crimp those terminal ends on the back of that ignition switch. It makes a nice crimp, a nice factory crimp. So those are the dies I use for that. And this is the dies I'm going to use for this. And I just stick it in there like so. And crimp it. And then it sticks in there a little bit. Got to pop it out of there. Come on. There we go. And then if you want, so now I got a good crimp. That's not going to come apart. And then if you want, if you have that solder, you can heat it up. And you can solder it a little more. But that solder will stick to that steel sleeve. And if you got any excess on there, if it's still hot, you can kind of shake it off. Be careful, because that hot spattered solder will burn you. So that's what you can do to make your own cables to hold your hood up. Pretty simple, huh? Yeah. Or cables for any other things you might have. So that's that. All right, back on the Dynamark. Show you some other stuff. We got to put the tank on and put the air cleaner on and see if it'll dry. Okay, got the tank back in. Got all the new fuel line ran. But before I put the air cleaner assembly back on, I want to make sure it's running at 3,600 RPM like it says here. 16 horsepower at 3,600 RPM. So that's what we want. So let's, give it a little choke. So, like I've explained in a lot of my other videos, when you put more tension on the governor spring, that's going to raise the RPM. So that's what I did right there. That's the governor spring. Right there. And that's a little tab. So you can bend that up. I tried using my Briggs tool. They make a tool for bending those tabs. But I just couldn't get it in there at a good point, good spot to bend it up. Oh, and another thing I gotta find is a breather tube. That breather tube is all rotted away. I gotta go upstairs and find one. This was the breather tube that was on there for the crankcase breather. It had mud daubers in it. So this is everything I've replaced so far. Carburetor with a used one, good used one. The spark plugs, the alternator, gas cap, fuel lines, pulse line. There was an idler under there that was bad, and it just so happened that this Sten's idler for a Taryl 280-248, in case you got one of these Dynamarks, was the exact same pulley. I got a little indigestion going on today. And we'll put a new air filter on it, and then after we drive it around, I'll get it nice and hot, and I'll change that dinosaur syrup, put some fresh syrup in there, and then I'll give it a pressure scrub and give it a good bath. Clean this turd up. Alright, let's see if it's charging now, and then we're going to hook up the headlights. So come over here. Here's got an amp meter on it. So I'm going to start it. Charging system's working. You've seen it on the plus side. Alright. So for the headlight, this was the wire for the headlight, like I said earlier. So all I need to do is find 12 volts and then pull this switch, and the headlight should go on. So he could see that through here without having to go around, Mr. Cameraman. So right here at the solenoid, this wire is coming directly from the battery, and the other one goes to the starter. So I could pick it up right here. I can crimp a connector on the end of this and bolt it on right here to catch power. Or I can find which terminal on the back of the key switch has got 12 volts, and I would have to get another connector and crimp this wire into it, or I could just run this wire right back to the positive side of the battery. But since we're all right here, I'll probably just crimp a eyelet on the end of this, and then I'll just put it right here. So I'm just going to touch it there, and I'm going to pull the light switch, and Mr. Cameraman's going to see if the headlights go on. Woo! Headlights on! So another thing we're going to do is I'm going to start it again, and he's going to look at the ammeter, and I'm going to turn the headlights on, and we're going to see if it pulls down any juice off of there. Okay, so come around here, Mr. Cameraman, and let me start it up again. Got 10 amp alternator, we're not pulling any juice. That's good. So now we won't have those dim and bright headlight deal. So all I gotta do is tie that wire in. Nice. This isn't a bad little turd. This is a sweet smelling turd. All right, let me close the hood and we'll see if the transmission works. Now the belt looked good. That's why I went under there and looked at that belt, and then I saw that that pulley was making a bunch of noise. So that's why I replaced that one idler pulley. All right, Dynamark, here we go. Because I noticed the brakes don't work. So that'll be another thing I'll have to do. I probably just got to adjust them. And the brakes are on the transmission. They probably just need to be adjusted. Because it's got a disc on it. Yeah, right here. There's the brakes. And there's probably an adjustment on here somewhere. So I will adjust the brakes so this thing will stop. Because I don't want to go smashing through. And it's got a real low grading gear in it. Here's the shift pattern here. So it's got a real low gear. So if I was to swap some of the pulleys around, put a smaller one on the trans and a bigger one on the engine, I could get this thing to go fast. And then if I went down in that granny gear, I'd still have a lot of torque, but it would go a little faster. So this would probably make a good mud mower. I don't know if I'm going to do that with it, but it didn't take much. A lot of it was used parts that we had laying around the shop. So basically, what do I got in it? A battery and an idler pulley and a set of plugs as far as new parts. And an air filter when I put the new air filter on it. Oh yeah, here's my, the knob was missing. This is another trick I do. Some of you grass rats that have been following me for a long time may have seen me do this before. A wire nut works good for a knob. It tightens on there nice. So if you got a tractor that's missing a knob, put a wire nut on there. Not a bad little turd. The old Dynamark. I don't have a deck for it. There's no deck. So there you have it. We got it running. Another turd running. Like I said, I'll take it out and give it a pressure scrubbing when the weather gets nicer. I can't do that now. Give it a nice bath, clean it up. It'll look a lot better. Tie in those headlights. But other than that, yeah, now I don't have to take that stupid gas cap off to open the hood, and the hood don't flop down and hit the floor. I'll leave that open because I got to put that breather hose back on and put the air cleaner back on. You know what else I forgot to do? I forgot to put this gas valve back in. All I got to do is cut the fuel line and put it in there. I like to have a shut off just in case. Shut that fuel off when you're storing it. You don't want it leaking or causing problems. But it runs good with that carburetor I found. All the safeties are disconnected, so it's got no clutch safety. It's got no safety on the seat if you fall off. All that stuff somebody had taken off. It's all gone. But we're not going to use it for that. We're going to use it for something else in the future. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure something out. So, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Taryl Fixes All. I'm Taryl, polishing this old Dynamark turd, the DeLorean of lawn tractors, as I like to call it. Follow me with your DeLoreans of lawn tractors on Facebook and Instagram. Go to our web store. Check out the merchandise we got for sale, like this beautiful t-shirt. It's not the space shuttle, it's a lawnmower. That's all it is. Let's not over-technify everything. Just a lawnmower. And as always, there's your dinner. There's your dinner!